Fitbit, Garmin, Apple Watch. Many of you have probably utilized these different fitness tracker watches or have heard of them before. Tracking your sleep and physical activity without needing to think while wearing these is pretty awesome. As many of you know, I used to use Toggle to track my time and productivity, but got sick of having to manually track my time and in essence, wasting time tracking my time. As Cal Newport talks about in his book Deep Work, an interruption, even if short, delays the total time required to complete a task by a significant fraction. What if we had a fitness tracker for productivity, however? What if you could sit down at your desk and understand how you really were spending your time and whether you were achieving deep work on a daily basis? So it's another one of those circumstances where I did an ominous B-roll, smooth talking voiceover thing, and the app was also in the title of the video, so it's probably about the thing that's in the title, right? Yeah, this one's about Rize. It's a time tracker that's essentially the fitness tracker for productivity, and for those of you that have utilized something like Toggle before, you know that you have to like manually put it in, or you can kind of map it up with your Google Calendar. However, it's not tracking what you're doing at all times. You know, when you have a fitness tracker on, like you have a watch that's a Garmin or a Fitbit, like you know what your heart rate is all the time, you know what your sleep is, it just does it for you. There's no manual input, and this app does the exact same thing, but for productivity. So I essentially utilized this app Rize for a week after the company reached out to me, because I said, hey, you know, if companies reach out to me that are interesting, I am going to make a video about that app because I don't see why not. Honestly, if I can utilize, you know, my platform to bring up good apps, I'm going to do that. And it's very similar to Zorby. I also have an affiliate link for the product. So if you want to go and get this app, please go in the comment section down below and check out the pinned comment where I'll have the affiliate link as well as in the description. And for me, we're gonna review a full work week of time tracked with what was I doing on my computer in the hours that I was working on my personal computer, and how many hours of deep work was I getting, how often was I being interrupted, those sort of things. So it's very interesting to see those types of things. So let's dive right into what this app is all about.
All right, so if we go to Rize.io, you can see that there is an app that basically is the fitness tracker for your productivity. There's an example breakdown here of the different ways that this application can break things down. It shows the different focus times you have, the breaks you have, the meetings you have. And then if we look more into things like the pricing, we can see that there is an annual billing option for $10 a month and then a monthly billing option for $14 a month. So there's no free version with this. However, I will say that it does do a lot for you. So it's not like it's an actual huge ask for you to pay for this software. Then if we go into the actual app, we can see that there are a bunch of different options for you here. So if you go into the top right, click settings here, we can see that there are a bunch of different options for tracking. If you look into the settings here, there is a timeline range that you can give it. So basically from like 6 to 10 p.m., you can track the different time you'd spend. So, I mean, honestly, for me, I'm somebody who probably should have set this a little bit earlier to maybe about 4 a.m. and then end it at 10 is fine. But I have the tracking, oh, actually I have the tracking hours set up here already, 4 to 10 p.m. And basically the weekdays only is how I want to track. Now I could track some days on the weekend. For me, I also do work a fair amount on the weekends on the YouTube stuff. So if we exclude work hours, we can get rid of things like entertainment, social media, personal. And then if we exclude from focus time a bunch of different things, basically this gives us an idea of what exactly is productivity for us, and it gives us a bunch of parameters. And these different things can actually be set to specific applications as well. There are different, if you go into the tracking, you find specific apps or websites to track or recognize. So if we put something like this in here, if we put youtube.com, it matters for me on entertainment or not, because obviously there are some times where I will give this an actual productivity nod based on what it's doing for me. So it's kind of hard to say. Then we go back into something like the general settings here, and we can then notice what is exclude from idle detection as well. We don't want time spent in the following categories will not stop tracking even after idle threshold reached, because we wouldn't want those different things to cause us having a quote-unquote break occurring. So then if we go in here, we can see the time breakdown. So have on here, there's a bunch of different sections. So there's a focus section, a meeting section, a break section, and then it'll get into the top 3 categories. Now for me, the entertainment is a little bit skewed because of how much time I have tabs open on YouTube and how much time I spend engaging with the community. So that is a little bit skewed regarding my productivity there. And I didn't track my Saturdays and Sundays. But what I will say is that it really does a nice job of showing what average time worked per day is, what total time worked throughout a week is, and now this is going to be skewed because obviously my work is different regarding my personal computer versus my work computer. I can't physically spend 40 hours a week in the work week doing YouTube things. That just doesn't make any sense. So then if we go into these different percentages, we can see that it says that I was 38% of the time focused, 1% I had meetings, so this is when I had a call, 25% I had breaks, and that's because I wasn't at my computer because I was at work. And then entertainment-wise, like I said, there's different categories and there's different breakdowns as well. And right here, we can see all the different categories that had video editing, documenting, utility, design. So if we go into something like documenting, we can see what days I did certain types of documentation, how much I did on those days, and then the same goes for video editing. If I was gonna say if I had to guess, it'd be Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays when I did a bunch of the video editing. And then it even has just a bunch of uncategorized, miscellaneous, and basic browsing stuff as well. So something specific to point out here is the fact that the focus timer is based off of something that Cal Newport talks about in his book Deep Work, and that is the difference between something like breaks and focus. If we look here and go into a specific day, for example, if we go on to here, we can see that there's going to be a different breakdown of focus to breaks. And this focus section is based on the amount of work or the amount of focus time divided by the work hours in your day, right? And quality focus time is scored out here based off of the session length and how long you're just continuously working on things. And you can see YouTube is my top interrupter. It even tells me what interrupts me the most time. And I know what that is. I interact with the community and that is just what it is. And you can see what focus score I had during what time of the day, and obviously it's going to be before working hours happen. And YouTube was the main thing that interrupted me, and it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I got a lot of work done, and I have to probably exclude something like Audacity from my interrupters now that I know this, because, well, that's part of my video editing process, so that needs to be categorized into video editing. And as you can see, if you look through your work each week, you can figure out what you're actually being distracted by and what you're not. Because to be frank, there are so many different times throughout the day where you may be doing something that's a part of your creative process, but the software doesn't originally signify with it. But if we look further into something like this, we can even see the breaks that occur. It's like during this time frame, I just had YouTube Studio open in the background and it categorized that. I can probably exclude something like that during those hours. It's one of those things where I wasn't using it. So we can look and see that maybe I should start tracking things during the morning hours only during my work week, because if I'm working from 5 till 8-ish a.m., that is the time frame that we need to focus on what needs to be tracked. And then maybe moving forward with that later at night, I also have a 7 to 9 p.m. work session as well on a lot of nights. So if we go on to something like a Wednesday night, we can see that in this time frame, I had a bunch of Photoshop work and there was a design section here. And in the morning I had video editing, and I had design at night. And then once again, it had this whole thing where it had the YouTube Studio open in the background and I didn't turn my computer off. So basically these are only the time sections that I need to worry about. I do think it's cool to point out that the focus session is this little bottom bar right here, and this top blue bar, as you can see, all of these were in focus sessions, but the time that I was working, so for example, at 5:35 to 6 to 11, 6:21 to 7:06, and the same here. So the majority of the time that I am working, I am hitting deep work from what I'm noticing here during the time sessions I work, because I work from 5:30-ish to 7:30/8. So basically I was getting into deep work for most of the time here, and then I work from 7:30 or 8 to 9 p.m. on some nights to get some extra stuff in, and I was hitting deep work for the majority of that. So that makes me happy that I am consistently hitting deep work in these sessions. And just a big thing to point out here is the fact that this thing is doing everything automatically, and we really like an app that can take everything you're doing and make it automatic. It tells me when I had deep work. I'm not having to manually track this stuff, and while there are specific things that I may have to input and kind of set up rules for. It's just infinitely better, in my opinion, to have stuff that is more automated. And if you have rules set up, you can see that like on a day like this, the time I did spend on my computer, I know I was 86% focused. And then before that, we can figure out what was I doing that wasn't so productive. So I'm just a fan of the fact that I was able to track all my time for multiple weeks, and I really wasn't, because it was just going on in the background, and it can give me a look into how I actually spend my time rather than even having my own bias by a manual sort of time tracking mechanism. So if we go back into settings really quick, it's kind of cool. If you go into notifications, you can turn on smart breaks, so we can receive a desktop notification after working for a period of time without taking a break. This notification will not send during non-working activities and meetings. So we can also have a break snooze, which means basically if we press snooze on this, it signifies the amount of time you get. You can like snooze a break notification. So if we say, all right, take a break, press the snooze button on when it's going to say that we're taking a break. We can set this to a long period of time. I'm not sure, I'd probably set this thing to like 15 minutes. I haven't been utilizing the feature, but it seems pretty solid. And you can also put work hours, receive a desktop notification after you worked a set number of hours in the day. So if you want to stop at 8 hours, it's something that can help you with that. And then you can also have these different things set up in order to have a daily report or weekly report. I personally don't like notifications like that, so I don't do it, but I think it's solid. There are also some integrations that I want to point out. You can integrate this with Google Calendar, and if you're somebody who has meetings set up on your Google Calendar, and you can obviously go into this and connect your account, and then it will help you with getting the right viewpoint of the time tracking that you have regarding meetings and whatnot, so it can keep track of that as well.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you want to check out the product, make sure to go click the link in the description or in the pinned comment down below. And without further ado, let's finish this video. Let's drink some coffee. Click one of the end cards over there, and I'll see you guys in the next one.